Ever since the passing of the Texas abortion ban, there's been a lot of talk about pro-life and pro-choice rhetoric on the internet. It's just been spilling over, flooded through Facebook, through Twitter, throughout Tumblr and TikTok. It's been everywhere. People talking about what's going to happen now. And there's plenty of discussion on addressing the scientific fallacies promoted by pro-choice people. There's plenty to talk about the legal fallacies promoted by various pro-choice people. But what I want to talk about specifically today is the unwanteds. People are appealing strongly to the idea that now that this law is in place, that there's going to be people forced to carry children that they don't want. And this is something I used to feel a little bit of sympathy for, being totally honest, because I thought there was some validity to it. And the reason for that is that being young and not spending a lot of time around specifically infant children, no experience with them, really, I didn't want to be around children. I have no issues with junior high, high school, and college. I have tons of experience with them. I know how to talk to them. I know how to keep them occupied and how to teach them. I got that down. But from birth to like fourth grade, totally lost. And so I would avoid them. I didn't want to spend time around kids like that. And so I had some sympathy for those that you find out you're pregnant at a young age or something along that lines, and so you just do what you have to do, right? That's the logic. And not saying that I give them a pass. No, I'm just saying that I can understand why a child would not be wanted. I could understand why the prospect of having crying children in the middle of the night, I can understand why any of those things would be less than desirable. I got it. But then we had our own child, and she's 4 months old, and I have to say, I don't get it. When you've looked into another person's eyes, yes, it's scary. It is still terrifying to face the reality of another human that is 100% dependent upon you, your goodwill, your care of it. That's terrifying. And from the moment we found out that we were pregnant, that we were bringing a child into the world, that there's can we do this? Will we be able to? Do we have what we need? And just so you understand, we've got all the right boxes checked. I've got a good job. My wife has a good job. We've got childcare sorted out. We've got good family support. And we've got insurance. We already paid her off, you could say. Like, they're not going to repossess her, is what we would make jokes about while we were making the payments and stuff for the birthing bills and stuff. Simply, and on top of that, she's an easy baby. She doesn't whine, fuss. She's not colicky. Like, she's an easy baby compared to what some people have had to deal with developmental or biological, genetic issues born with their child or being premature or anything like that. We didn't have any of that stuff, and yet still, there are times we've successfully moved her to where she's sleeping in her own room already, and there are times where I'll go in, I'll peek in, and I can't hear her breathing. I will purposefully wake her up knowing she's going to cry, because I'm afraid that if I can't hear her breathing, then she's dead. Like, I still have those anxieties, like early dad stuff. But I wouldn't trade any of it. I would not trade any of it. And I can understand why a single mom would be afraid. I can understand why a teen who got pregnant would be afraid. I get it. I do understand. I've bought diapers for pregnant teen moms. I've done that stuff. I get it. But none of those are justifiable explanations for ending a human life. None of them. It's just not a valid explanation for putting a human child to death. It's just not. What it is an invitation for people with resources to come alongside and we'll help you. We will take care of you. We'll take care of you and your baby. That's what this is. And so there's often involves as well something of kind of a dance about foster care and adoption. And just want to lay some things down. The first is, for every one infant ready to be adopted or going through having the TPR, there's dozens of waiting families waiting for a child to be placed in their arms. Adoption is not a problem. That it's not a problematic system, quite frankly. It's fine. Everything works exactly as it's supposed to. The thing is that there's more people waiting for children than there are children to be given to them. Foster care is completely different. Foster care is there's a person who has been found to be an unfit parent. Maybe there's drugs involved. Maybe there's incarceration. Maybe there's problems thriving in the environment. Maybe employment issues, or there's a lot of things that play into it. But they've been found to be unwell, unfit. So the government steps in, takes that child out of that environment, places it into a foster care facility or independent families to be cared for in the interim while that mother, father, or both attempt to get themselves clean, go through rehabilitation, get employment or education assistance so that they can get themselves into a better place. And then ideally that those children will then be reunited and then the family will be reconciled. And then you'll have a healthy family again. That's the idea. One of the reasons that foster care struggles is the primary posture of the legal family system is to reunite families. So there are instances where there are families that are unhealthy, parents that are not qualified to be caring for a child, but they don't give up their parental rights, so the child can't be adopted. Now, there are those children that are prepared, that are ready to be adopted, that should be. And that's something to work out with the adoption system, that some people that are waiting for infants should adopt older children instead. They should. And that's a conversation to be had, that's something to be walked through and things, but simply death is not a solution to the problems that we're facing in society. Murder is not a viable solution. And if you're somebody that is struggling in the matter of that you want or to that you're thinking about getting an abortion because you feel hopeless, that you feel like you don't have the resources you need. There are people like me, there are people all over this country and this world that are more than willing to not just take the child out of your arms, but to help you care for the child on your own. Get you on your feet, get you healthy, keep you healthy, keep you as a family together. And as a final olive branch as well, I am more than happy to extend the argument that simply the expectation of responsibility on men needs to be increased. That I would be perfectly fine if it was legally and that it was through the correct channels passed as a law that women, as they're going in for their prenatal checks and their OB appointments and things, they could write the man's name that got between their legs and send him the bill. I'm perfectly fine with that. I would actually argue that it would be better for society if we did. That simply guys can't just lay and leave. And that increasing the consequential cost, the opportunity cost of transactional and recreational sex, because it's not good for society to have people just sleeping around. It's had a measurable degradative effect on society. So there are other things you can occupy your time with than letting losers at the club sleep with you. So that's what I'm saying. Murder is not a viable option for solving these problems that we're facing, and that Texas as a state is going to be better off if they let this law stand, and that other states would be better off culturally and socially, economically, everything, if they were to follow in a similar suit. They would. So hopefully they will.